You may know that in the European Parliament you're given exactly 1 minute to make your speech. And if you overstep that mark, they withdraw the mic. Now, yesterday Roger Hayes rang me up and said that although I've prepared a speech which would last an hour, I've only got 20 minutes. So what I've got to do is to eat a lot of my words. I can't even make my opening joke, although now I've said it's a joke, I'll make it, which is what I was going to do is appear here with my left hand above my head like Boris Johnson and say, what on earth am I doing here? Well, the answer is, I was ordered here by the police, or rather by policeman you may have heard just now. And he got on the phone and he badgered me to turn up. I was a bit reluctant, I seem to recall, simply because I've been engaged in some rather delicate work on behalf of our cousins in the United States, and it's been quite a dangerous work. And as Mr. Hilger is here, I just want to make a few points about this, because what I have been doing, and it arose as a consequence of a whole series of events which we needn't go into, is that we have been exposing the biggest corruption story in the history of the world, which is basically concerns the derivatives operation. All derivatives are fraudulent finance activities, and as a direct result of this activity, which you can see displayed on my website, which is www.worldreports.org. Sorry to plug it, but I have to. The United States moved this week onto the Basel II norms, which means that all off-balance sheet transactions are illegal, and which means that the entire derivatives sector is worth zilch. Now, the reason that the pound in your pocket is a piddly little coin, which you can't even buy the Daily Telegraph with, is precisely because this leveraging and hypothecation and fraudulent finance activity has been taking place. Now, it was originated in the bowels of what I call the US intelligence power, and the proxy name for that is the CIA, but actually we're referring to 16, possibly 18 agencies which are a subsidiary to the CIA, including the FBI. And this fraudulent finance operation originated when money became digitized or ceased to be more than just an entry on a bank statement or a balance sheet. And the brains behind this is Dr. Henry Kissinger, also known as Heinz, who you may recall still has a very, very big German accent. He still has it. Now, the reason for this is, of course, that he's a triple agent. His Soviet code name is BOR, quite well known. We don't know what his Pan-German code name is. But the reason I've mentioned this is that I'm going to talk about Germany. Now, in the first peroration, we were told about the Germans when they took us over about 1,200 years ago. Well, they're engaged in the same operation. Because contrary to the general view, we did not win the war. What happened was we finished Hitler off. We personalized the war, so we thought that when Hitler ceased to exist, ostensibly, I don't believe these stories about the fact that he survived the bunker, that's nonsense. We thought we'd won the war, but that is not what happened. In practice, what happened was that in about 1941, it was in 1941, at the Wannsee Conference, the Nazi intelligentsia realized that there must be a 50-50 chance that the Germans would lose the war. And so what they did was they exported their big brains to Madrid. And in 1942, they set up what they called the German Geopolitical Center. And if you go back into that part of history, you'll see that it is quite often mentioned that all the big hotels in Madrid were full of Gestapo and Germans. Now, the German Geopolitical Center did nothing but think about what would happen if Germany didn't succeed in taking over Europe. And in other words, it was a long-term think tank, and they developed a long-range deception strategy. The long-range deception strategy was originally set out in a work or a book of seminars, or a seminar document called Europäische Wirtschaftsgemeinschaft, European Economic Community, published in 1942 in Berlin, which is mentioned in my book, The European Union Collective, details of which are out there. The subtitle for European Union Collective, which was published in 2002, so it's 7 years old, but it's still entirely relevant, is Enemy of its Member States. The European Union is, of course, not our friend, it is our enemy, and has been all along, because its purpose is to usurp our sovereignty and take us over. And in fact, what we now have in fact, is a rubber stamp parliament, which, as you know, I think about 82% of stuff that comes into the House of Commons originates in Brussels. Now, what happened was that under Heath, we handed over general powers to an unelected group in Brussels, which is a self-perpetuating situation. And the real problem with this enemy of ours is that it is on autopilot. In fact, I bought the wrong newspaper this morning, but if you do happen to pick up a copy of the Guardian, you'll see this ghastly picture in the middle where all these creeps are sort of embracing each other. They love it. They can't, it's a big club. They're very happy with each other. And of course, Blair's got a major problem, because although the previous speaker mentioned his candidacy as President of the European Union, in fact, you will have seen in the paper yesterday that his campaign peaked too early. Now, the reason it peaked too early is connected with the developments in the United States, because this week, and I will not go on about this because it's not the subject, but this week, the United States did switch to the Basel II basis, which precludes all this criminal finance. Now, I'm going to say something which is not publicized. This struggle to get the United States to cut out this corruption has been going on for years. I came in on it in about 2005, and you'll see my website is absolutely chock full of this stuff. The problem was, or has been, that the people running the criminal finance, including, of course, the criminal enterprises, and by the way, I have referred to Citibank and other very large banks in the United States as criminal enterprises for the last 2.5 years, and I'm still walking. And the reason for that is that if you go into the main courthouse in New York and you pull up Citibank, you would have to spend about 3 weeks taking down information about the court cases concerning Citibank and fraud, which are still before the court, and that's just one court. Anyway, what happened this week is that the Chinese have made available to the United States, or to the Federal Reserve, 10 metric tons of gold. It's been loaned to them. It's a sort of loan, but of course there are huge strings attached. And it's no coincidence that Hillary Clinton, who is up to her neck in this corruption, as you will know from the Clinton background, it has suddenly said that friendship with China is my personal mission. Okay? Well, the reality is that the United States couldn't go Basel II unless its currency was properly based, and the Chinese have made available 10 metric tons of gold for that purpose on a loan basis. It's a very complex subject, but I'm trying to tell you something, which is that the corruption that I may still have time to talk about in the European context is mirrored in the United States. And in fact, what we're talking about is a two-pronged attack on the main enemy. The main enemy, according to the Germans and the Soviets, is Britain and the United States.